TikTok, it's time to rock. You know what they say, guys, better late than never. And even though we were scheduled to be here in 15 minutes, 15 minutes ago we got here, and it's always a pleasure, even when we're late, to be here with you guys, Hoss and Brad, on the top tier. I've got all the way from Melbourne. There he is. May the tone be with you, brother. I love it.
May the tone be with all of you.
Oh, may the tone be with you, brother. Happy 2020.
22.
Yeah, 2022. Happy 22. My gosh.
Yeah.
Hoss.
Hey, how we doing?
Good
buddy.
to see you, brother.
Yes, very good to see you guys as well. And I have to apologize to everyone. I think we're late, but mostly because of me. And that's I had a kitchen emergency with water all over the floor. So my apologies to everybody I had to mop that up.
That's okay, mate. You're here. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's good to see you guys. We've had a couple of weeks off, so it's always good to come back. I don't start my real job, guys, until the 24th, so hanging out with you guys is always a job. It's a big part of what we do, isn't it? But I never have a bad feeling knowing that I got to jump on the 5150 show. That's the honest truth. Does that make you feel, guys, good? Guys,
that makes me feel warm and fuzzy, Andrew, and likewise.
So we've got a few things that we're going to talk about, Hoss. In particular, you've got some news, and if anyone is a regular follower of what you've been up to on social media and Fruitcake Tony's show, they're probably already aware of what the news is, but you can break that live here on the 5150 show. As far as that goes, Brad's got an interesting thing that he wants to talk to us about as far as a project this year. So he's going to offer an opportunity for us to give him some advice on that. We're going to talk about some new gear that quite a few YouTube channels have been talking about, and there's a bit of a story behind it. And also, I think, Hoss, you said that you were quite keen for us to have a bit of a general discussion about a famous album that was dropped a couple of days ago, in preparation for a deep dive with you on the next 5150 show. Have I got it right, guys?
Yep. Yeah. That all sounds excellent. Plenty of stuff to talk about there for sure.
Yeah. No,
Sorry, brother.
I'm looking forward to the next episode we do. It's going to be fantastic. And so, are we going to break the news now, Andrew? Or are we going to talk about it later, or what are we going to do? Talk about the next episode we're going to be doing?
Well, yeah, I think so. You might as well, talk about the next episode.
I might as well throw a grenade out there. We're going to do an extreme deep dive on 1984. It was the anniversary of 1984's release a couple of days ago. And we feel like we're going to do a ranking track. We're going to ranking of the tracks like we have previously, but this is going to be the deepest dive that we could possibly do on 1984 with all the information that we've got. So, and to do it with Hoss is going to be quite amazing, because I know it's one of your favorites too, isn't it, Hoss?
Yeah, it really is. It'll be a blast to deep dive on that one. I think really that it's an interesting album, because for me, sort of sonically and stylistically, it doesn't feel like the first five to me. It almost feels like this weird transition between the, Fair Warning and, and 5150. So, those eras, it's still squarely like in the David Lee Roth era stuff, obviously, but it's just, I don't know. I think the particular types of songs on there are the kinds of songs that you sort of heard the genesis of on the 5150 album,
Yeah. 100%.
Especially with the more keyboards and stuff like that. So, but yeah, definitely a favorite. I love Eddie's tone on that record, and some killer tracks.
Yeah. Awesome. I love
I agree. I agree. I was just in the green room, Hoss, talking about it with Brad, and I said to him, it's interesting. It's like one chapter closing in Van Halen and another chapter opening with the same lead singer. With that album, it's it's a demarcation from the previous albums that David Lee Roth had done, you know, and I'm one of the guys that sticks his hands up and says, what could have happened with that band had Roth stayed? You know, they were ready. They were at the top, bro. Yeah, you know, you guys remember. No, well, Brad's a spring chicken. He's the new. Well, you're only a spring chicken too, hot. So I'm now. But I remember. I'll speak from a historical perspective. But you know, I remember back in 84, 85. You know, when David Lee Roth was in the band, they were huge guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're right. The way you put it is perfect. Like the changing of the guard. It's almost like subconsciously you could feel some bubbling and a sort of a passing of the baton, so to speak. You know, it's but I love it because I think that in that you know, in that chaos of everything that was happening, I think some of that chaos gets printed on the vinyl, you know, and I think that you can hear it on that record, and that's what makes it exciting to me. You know, often the best albums from bands are the albums where there was friction somewhere, and it might have been between the personalities of the band, or it could have been they're fighting with their producer, or, you know, but the albums that just go smoothly, I don't know, there's a little tiny piece of something missing in the songs. I think as having that friction can make a great record. Like Fleetwood Mac is one of the best examples ever, you know.
Well, I was going to give you two examples. The Sunday show we're doing Rumors tomorrow, and that's a classic example of bandmates bitch fighting. But look at our show, you know, you and I and Brad, you know, we're tearing each other apart, you know, behind the scenes, you know, and the rock professor, and then we come here live, and it's all that chaos and that conflict, and we get to present this wonderful package for everybody.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, guys, give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back. There's something very important that I forgot, which you'll see when I come back.
No problem, brother.
Worries.
You do that.
No worries. Take your time, man. Take your time.
I want to make it quite clear to everybody too. I was only joking about chaos and conflict behind the scenes.
I was just about to say, mate. Jeez, what chaos and conflict am I missing?
Yeah. You know, don't take that seriously, guys. We're a family and we love each other here. So, yeah. No, that's But I think though, Brad, I think Hoss is right though, and we didn't have any real idea at the time here in New Zealand anyway what was going through with the band. You know, they dropped this album. We were listening to it, bro, and it was this wow. And then all of a sudden you were getting bits and pieces filtering through that there was, you know, disharmony, discord in the band. And all of a sudden David Lee Roth splits and then comes out with, you know, California Girls and stuff like that. And I'm Just a Gigolo. And I'm sitting like you and everybody else in the world, and Fruitcake Tony and everyone else in the chat. And we'll do a roll call soon when Hoss comes back, guys. We haven't forgotten you. Thinking, what's going to happen to this band? Yeah.
It was a turmoil, but the end result is such an amazing album. And the more I listen to 1984, the more I love it. Which is, you know, when an album does that to me is an epic album. Because, you know, if an album captures you at the start and you sort of lose a little bit of interest in it, you know, sometimes it might be impressive from the word go, but this one stood the test of time 100%.
It's my favorite album with David Lee Roth, beyond a doubt. I have to say, you know, all the albums, you know, built up to something, you know, clearly, as far as the music and the song composition goes, we all know that. But I just think from an all-round perspective, David Lee Roth singing, his vocals, the lyrics, the tone, the music that Eddie was bringing. We even got Jump. We got some synthesizer stuff in there, which is something that was really, really important, you know, for Eddie at that time to get involved. Number one singles. Just a fantastic album, bro.
Yeah. No, great album. Looking forward to deep diving that. And, you know, to deep dive this, going through the songs and everything like we have previously with Hoss will be amazing because, you know, Hoss actually plays a lot of these songs. So that's we can get a perspective on someone who actually is fine-tuned to the music, which is one of the reasons we're so grateful and blessed to have Hoss with us.
And I just want to echo that, because I've been listening to this music for a long, long time. And if you guys are regulars to our channel, and if you know anything about what Hoss has been doing, he's been playing this music for a long, long time too. Look, and so's Brad. Brad's been very humble, but we all know that Brad can rip, jump, and a few other, But the fact though that we do have guys that can play the music that we love to a high degree, gives us, I think, something a little bit different as far as our analysis and our rankings goes, Hoss. And I know that you're going to be humble and talk about the fact that that's not a big deal, but it is for our channel.
Yeah.
Well, look, obviously I'm happy to throw in my 2 cents, but it's really the passion for it goes the same for everyone. I think that everyone feels that these songs have got under their skin over the decades. And, we grew up in a really interesting era because that kind of flourishing of rock and roll and hard rock and even heavy metal, early heavy metal and stuff like that. I don't think that we're really going to see something like that repeat again. Maybe we will in some way that we can't sort of understand now. It might be with some new instrument that gets invented or a new sound. But really, I mean, what a wonderful time in music history to grow up,
100%.
Well, you're right, because if you're watching video programs around that time, you were watching Whitney Houston, and then Panama, and then the Bangles. You had this, what's the word they use? This eclectic music that was popular music through the 80s. If you weren't fans of the music, you knew who the artists were. Everybody knew who Whitney Houston was. Everyone knew who Michael Jackson was, So, and I think Hoss and Brad, especially for us here in Australia and New Zealand, and certainly in America, by the time that album was out, everybody knew who Van Halen was.
Yep, that's exactly right. It's fascinating time to not only be around but also be a musician. So yeah, it was excellent.
Awesome. Hey, bro, we've got 26, 27 people in the chat. Hoss, have you got your screen up? Can you do roll call for us, brother?
I certainly can. It would be my pleasure. Well, let me put my mouse over there. We got the Charles Green. Hello, Charles. How you doing, sir? Helene O'Hara. We got the illustrious John ZD351. How you doing, fella? Browns fan. Ellen. Hi, Ellen. Brendan B Squared, legend. How you doing, Brendan? Helen Winter. Jeff K. We got Johnny Heartbreaker. Keith Campbell. How you doing, lovely man? Who else we got in there? Mark Tanner. Hey, Mark. We've got Fruitcake Tony. I saw in there before as well. Hello, Fruitcake. Let's see. Who else? That's about Metal Mike 5150 is in there. We got Johnny Heartbreaker. Hey, Johnny. And I think, unless I'm mistaken, that's about it for now. We can do another roll call later when some different people are in.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. We certainly do like to say g'day to everybody. If we're, I just got to let you guys know at the beginning of the year, when we're deep diving on the shows that we do, if we can't acknowledge you, I'll always do the best that I can to throw your name up at least on the screen, because for example, if Brad's going through doing an album presentation, and he gets a bit fussy when he gets interrupted, you see, so we got to make sure.
I get a little bit cranky pants.
He gets a little bit cranky when he gets interrupted. Yes, trust me. So, but yeah. Thank you, Hoss. That's brilliant.
Actually, there's a couple more that I have seen just now while you were talking, Andrew, that I should. Steve-O 5150. Sorry, fella, didn't see you in there. Kelly, Gretch Zeppelin, of course. Hey, Gretch Zeppelin, how you doing? Nelson Rodriguez, of course. Hobo Roadie is in here as well. And I think now I've picked up my, yeah, that's it. Got it. Oh, and Teresa was in here, but I think she's left. And hello, Charmaine, as well.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you for joining us. So, yeah, well, we've got a couple of things that we want to talk about. So, Hoss, I suppose your news needs to be discussed. If you got some time, tell us what's happening, brother.
Absolutely. Well, in the wonderful, strange world we're living in at the moment, Melbourne and Sydney are all sort of upside down with just excessive COVID cases and some now restrictions in our nightclubs and pubs and live music venues. That being the case, and with the original plan, to do the tribute to Eddie Van Halen birthday show coming up in a couple of weeks, myself and the Corner Hotel have decided that it would just be smarter to reschedule it, as much as it breaks our heart to lose the date of Eddie Van Halen's birthday. So not a decision that we took lightly, but we just thought, after already rescheduling the show, 3 or 4 times due to COVID, to now put on the show in a small room with only maybe 100, 150 people, it doesn't seem right, and because it's not a regular gig that I do, it is a one-off special event. We want to do it so that as many people as possible can get to see it, because one of the other reasons we're putting it on, of course, is because a lot of people missed seeing what we did at the Melbourne Guitar Show a few years ago, and have really been on me to do another gig so they can come and watch it live. So I think it just makes sense to have a room where you can have as many people as possible. So the date that we have chosen, and hopefully sticks if the world comes to its senses, is Friday, April the 15th is the new date, which happens to be Good Friday. So hopefully, I think that'll be a good day to do it. Oh, hang on. I've lost the audio of you guys.
No.
No,
can you hear me?
I think I was muted.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. No, I got you.
Brad, you want to offer anything on that news, brother?
Look, I understand why the rescheduling. I've had, I think, 3 corporate shows reschedule. I had one this weekend. I had one next weekend in Brisbane, and then another one not long after that interstate as well. So they've all been rescheduled as well. And just, I guess, we've got to play it safe, and the venues are doing what they've got to do. But I'm looking forward to April. It would say April 15th, was it, Hoss?
April 15th. I mean, the other reason that we really wanted to move it back that far, Brad, is so it would give you a little bit more time in the gym for carrying the quad boxes,
Well, on that, I've got to lose the COVID and Christmas kilos, so that might work. Okay, that might work for me.
No, I've seen you.
No. But no, that's great, because that'll give us a bit more time to work out things behind the scenes for the show as well, which is something that I'll, wanted to talk to you guys about off air.
Yeah. I mean, because there's plenty of special little things that we can do leading up to the gig, and I think having a little bit more time to do them in a way that's kind of entertaining and fun and properly is never going to hurt,
100%.
Yeah. Well,
So
it is. It's sad news. It's sad news, Hoss. But yeah, look, like a lot of things, though, bro. You've done it well. You've managed to turn it around and say, well, look, the 3 months that you're going to get means that you're going to have a polished performance.
Yeah, well, more polished than it would have been if it was in 2 weeks, But yeah, no, it'll be good. I think secretly Jerry and Jason and Dave and Darren and Nina and everybody else involved are also happy with more time to rehearse and kind of really get the songs, committed to memory. But more than that, so they become second nature,
So what does that mean for you though, bro, as far as, being the guitar player in the band, having that extra time? Does that give you some space and an opportunity for you to tweak your tones? Because if anybody hasn't been aware of some of the previous shows we've done with Hoss, he's spoken to us about how he's articulated that tone, especially the Van Halen 1 tone, pretty well for that Melbourne gig that you did, and just been that eternal tone chaser that all guitar players are. So does that give you some breathing space for you to tweak that, do you think?
Yeah, look, as you know, the tweaking never really stops. It's there's a great quote. Some famous mix engineer said, and I can't remember who it was, but they say a great mix is never finished. It just gets abandoned. And I actually feel exactly the same with guitar tones. You can keep going down that rabbit hole forever. And but the other thing is it's fun. Like I think we all have fun chasing the tone and fiddling around. So yeah, look, it'll give me plenty of time to do that as well. I've sort of got a pretty good idea of what I'm doing now. Obviously, I had to be prepared in case the show went ahead on Jan 25. So everything's sort of there. Brad and I haven't got together yet to have a look at the wet, dry, wet setup, but we shall be doing that. But yeah, look, three more months to sort of mess around with it is fine by me. Totally fine by me. And to be honest, 3 more months to try and get that live without a net solo memorized, all 13 minutes of it, is definitely going to be good as well. So yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, you've got a major task ahead of you there, mate. So yeah.
Yeah, well, we certainly look forward to seeing how that goes. I've just got another couple of questions I want to fire at you, Hoss. We were lucky and fortunate enough to have Jerry on when we did the Michael Anthony show, and I'd love to get Jerry back if it was okay with you guys to talk about what he's doing in preparation for the gig, because look, there's a bass guitar there, fretless bass. We're all bass players, aren't we? Guitar players are, and hanging out with a bass player that knows the stuff's always a cool thing. But it'll be cool, and maybe you could answer it a little bit of it for us now. Is Jerry going through any kind of detailed analysis as far as providing a tone that he's going to present at the gig? Is there something that he's doing from that perspective?
Absolutely, yeah. But all the boys are really drilling down, and trying to get their sounds, as accurate as possible, but also in a way where they get to keep some of their personality. So Jerry gets to keep the way that Jerry plays. Jerry could mimic Alex like perfectly, but I don't actually want him to do that. I want him to do the show so that he can have fun as Jerry Pantazis, but capture the essence of Alex Van Halen. And so that's what he's done. Like he's gone out and bought the crazy, I forget the size, I think it's 24-inch ride cymbal of Alex's, which is just huge, which is why when Alex starts smashing away on that thing, it's all you can hear. It's just constant cymbal noise, because this thing rings like a gong. You can't stop it, and of course it's visually, it looks awesome too. Jerry doesn't normally play drums with 2 kick drums, but he's doing all of that, and he's got a. Jerry can talk about this obviously much better, but I know that he's also got his hands on an Alex type snare. I believe it's a Ludwig. So I forget actually what it's called, but that'll be a good episode for Jerry to deep dive on that. And the other thing that he's done is he's found some triggers to capture the sound of when Alex was using the Simmons pads, and all that electronic stuff. So Jerry's right. He's not getting Simmons pads. What he's doing instead is he's got triggers on the toms. And then he's using a sound module, which has the samples of the Simmons pads that Alex used. And so actually, when we did our production rehearsal a month or so ago, Jerry had the triggers on his drums. And so for all the stuff from like 1984 onwards that we're doing, I got to mix into our promo videos, Jerry playing, but with the Simmons sounds, and it's so much fun. It sounds awesome, you know. And so, yeah, and some of those promos I'll probably just do one short promo like every week or two leading up to the 15th of April. And each promo will have different songs in it. So it won't be just uploading the same thing again, you know, so people can get a feel for what we're really doing in the second half of the show, because most people would know the first half is going to be a encore performance of the Van Halen 1 album. And then the second half of the show is basically just us cherry picking our favorite songs to jam on. And of course, some of the big hits as well, from both the Sammy era and the Dave era. So we're sort of, the second set's really just a free for all. And we're getting up lots of special guests, like Nina and Darren and Jimmy Couples, as you guys know. So yeah, it sounds great. But getting back to your question, Andrew, about Jerry's drums. Yeah. So he's got the Simmons samples going on from triggers on his toms. He's also got the Alex ride. He's got the 2 kick drums, and he's got the Alex snare. And then really, apart from that, there's a couple of things that all three of us are doing. Like Jerry learns the parts really, really authentically. And in a case where there's a drum fill that's just clearly like everybody would know that drum fill, then Jerry will play that drum fill exactly. But on the night, you know, and any other little bits, I want Jerry's personality to come out and him to have some fun. And the same with Jason. But Jason's got his own recording set up in his house, and he's deep diving on the bass tones as well, which is fun. And he's got himself a flanger, and so the boys are really putting the back into it, of course, as you would know. And we've got Rod Bustos, who's getting up to guest on bass for the first 3 songs of the second set, which is all stuff off 5150. And Rod, who's you guys have had on the show, is also a monster bass player and a crazy Michael Anthony fan and Eddie fan. He's actually just a rock and roll fan. And he's already taped up all his basses. He sent me a photo the other day. They look incredible. So, you know, I mean, maybe what we could do one episode is, you know, somewhere between now and the gig, is we could get all the boys on for, and everyone can talk about how they're preparing, not just with the sounds and their instruments, but also with, like, I think, Andrew, one of your questions on another show was, like, what's the process in people's minds more, like, in terms of how do you learn this stuff, and how do you practice it, you know?
I'd love to. I'd love to get these guys on there and ask them the questions. I'm sure everyone in the chat would love to as well. So no pressure, brother.
Oh, look, I can speak for the boys. I would love to come back on the show anytime. So yeah, we can organize that. One thing actually that, you know, COVID and all the lockdowns around the world has really forced people into thinking outside the box in a way that's like really quite sort of helpful and creative, you know. And I think that, like, especially in the art scene, you know, musicians have had to find different ways of doing things. That's why you see these kind of like virtual gigs now, and also you see people making music, but each person's recording their bit at home, you know. We've had to have, I think we've canceled 4 rehearsals now because just since November, which meant that if the gig had to go on January the 25th, we were 4 rehearsals down. So, I mean, we would have done the show because people have bought tickets and all of that, you know, the show goes on, so to speak. But it's, you know, it really was heartbreaking for us to just lose so much valuable rehearsal time. And especially over the holiday period, of course, there's so many people involved now and the special guests that everybody's away. And so what I'm going to do is something that I think will be lots of fun for all of us. And it means that if anything happens in Melbourne between now and April 15, we can still prepare for the show. So what I'm going to do is actually re-record all the songs in the second set from the ground up, and then hand Pro Tools sessions to the guys so that so what Jerry will get, so he can basically play alongs, right? So Jerry will get vocals, guitar, all my guitar parts, and Jason's bass parts, and then he can just put his headphones on and practice the second set to his heart's content. And then each of us will have a version without our instrument, you know. And I think that's probably the smart thing to do, because, you know, who knows what will happen between now and then. And if we keep getting rehearsals cancelled, then it just makes it really difficult.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
It'd be fun. It'll definitely be fun. And yeah, that's probably seems like too much work for some people, but I love all that nerdy stuff. Like that'll make me very happy doing that. It doesn't bore me at all, you know.
Plus, you could almost compile together a little CD to sell for gigs.
We could, but
and hand over to your co-host.
Don't worry, Brad. You'll be getting a copy as well. So, yeah. No, look, it'll be fun. I mean, there's no reason why. I mean, if people wanted a copy of Van Halen songs that I've recorded, but without guitar, so they could play along, there's no reason why I couldn't hand that to them. So, I mean, once the work's done, the work's done, you know.
I think you playing on it.
Yeah. I certainly look forward to hearing you guys perform a lot of these songs off 5150. You know, we just, you know, the album, the show's named after that album, guys. You know, so you know, it's a big part of who we are as Van Halen fans, and to hear what you guys are going to do with a lot of those tracks has got everybody. And I'm just reading all the comments in the chats, in our chat here from the North American guys. They're all just chomping at the bit too to see what you guys are going to do with these great songs, Hoss. So yeah, look. On one hand, yeah, it's sad that we've got this global thing causing such a ruckus, to the point to where it's even causing issues with you, Brad, that you can't even, you know, get out there, because I know playing for you isn't about the money. It's not about the paycheck for you, brother. And you know, you just were only telling me yesterday you went away for a week and a bit. You didn't take your guitar, and it's about who you are as a musician, as a guitar player. You've got to play your guitar. You'll play in front of your Instagram audience if that was the only choice you had.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, 100%. Look, you know, I guess one thing as musicians, you know, you have a week away from your instrument and you miss it. It's one of those things, because you've already got a harmonic connection with that instrument or music in general. I couldn't imagine going a day without listening to music, without, you know, like whether it be on my phone or my headphones or whatever. I always listen to music. It's just there. So yeah. So I had a wonderful week away, but I really missed my guitar. And yesterday, after a long day, hard day at work with 40-degree heat, I came home and, you know, jumped on my guitar for 20 minutes and rough and ready and a bit rusty around the edges, just did a quick Instagram live, had a bit of fun, and closed it down and felt rejuvenated because it connected with the instrument again, which is, you know, to not be able to get out and play. Yeah, 100% right, Andrew. I play guitar because monetary side, you know, I love money, and who doesn't? And, you know, we all want to be making money along the way, and to be able to make money out of what we love doing is a blessing. But to be able to just get out and play would be right now a blessing to me. Music is its own reward.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And, you know, getting out to play is what we all just want to get back to. And apart from the Van Halen gig being rescheduled, which is obviously sad for me in a way, but also, of course, all my other work's being cancelled as well. So even the income that I was generating to pay for some of the things for the Van Halen show is gone now. Like, I was meant to be doing 3 gigs around Sydney this weekend, but they're all cancelled. So, so there's that element of it as well. Yeah. But yeah, it's you know, I think the world will bounce back, and it's about live music. People want to interact. Humans like interacting. It's just one of those simple things, isn't it? So yeah. And Andrew, I don't. Sorry, go on.
No, looking forward. Anyway, look, all that aside, really looking forward to the show at the corner on April 15. I'm going to put it in my calendar now. I'm going to block it out. And
Jason had some good ideas already for, you know, the promo and marketing of the show. He said we should do should get a company to wrap Easter eggs in black, white, and red striped foil and do a little Easter egg hunt at the corner hotel in between sets, you know, which I think would actually be pretty funny. And maybe inside some of them could be like a pick or something like that gives people a free ticket to the next show, something, something fun.
That sounds hilarious. You can imagine all these people running around, had a few pints in them.
Well, by then they will have had a few pints. So watching a bunch of grown adults running around looking for tiny Easter eggs with Eddie Van Halen stripes would be something I'd have to get out and film. I think that'd be very funny. But look, of course, if anyone, even people in the chat, got any other ideas, I'm all ears for ideas for the Easter show.
Okay. Well, this sort of brings me to probably the serious part of the show. So we'd been talking about doing a pedal giveaway for a while on the channel, and so the question that I was going to give to you guys to win the pedal and it was related to the show that was going to be in 2 weeks' time. So I'm sorry, guys, if you guys are here to win the pedal, I can't do it for you because I really want the pedal to be a celebration around Hoss's gig. So, and the question was that I was going to ask, but we won't ask that question. But I'll just tell you what it was. Where was the gig going to be? And if you'd answered that, you would have got this pedal. So we're going to retrench and work out some questions for you guys to win this pedal. No false advertising and a Van Halen t-shirt, but we wanted to tie that in with the gig at the corner bars. So we're going to do that. We're going to postpone that for April, if that's okay, guys.
Yeah,
good idea. Yep. And I've got that MXR Phase 90 pedal that I used on the Melbourne Guitar Show too, that at some point between now and the April 15 show, I'll think of some clever way that someone can win that as well.
Awesome.
I do have some 5150 picks here. I'm going to put my email address up, and if you guys want a pick, email me your address, and I'll do the best that I can over the next couple of weeks to throw some picks to you guys. Okay, so just to keep you guys coming back and joining us.
Awesome. Gretch Zeppelin says, I would have answered Australia. Is that close enough? It would have been correct. You would be right.
Well, it could have been worse. Could have been New Zealand.
Don't worry, Andrew. We'll be coming over to do a show in New Zealand, brother, for sure.
Well, that's a question I want to ask you. If you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but you know how you're going around in your mind working out these different tones through your rig and with your other band members on how you can articulate these different Van Halen tone sounds. How easy is that going to be for you guys to manage when you fold it all up and you travel to North America and Europe, showcasing anything that you guys might want to be doing? How is that something on the back of your mind now? Are you thinking about how it can be easily transported?
Yeah, well, I'm in discussions at the moment with someone that manages a few other big touring acts who's based in New Zealand, and so when we can, when the travel allows, we definitely want to take it. We've had a lot of interest from over in the States and in Europe too, actually, and it'd be really fun to take the show around and bring it to some different places. So yes, in thinking that, you have to think, well, obviously you're not going to fly around with a wet, dry, wet rig. As everyone knows, you can rent the boxes. I think I would probably have to take the main Marshall head. I could do it with the Kemper like I did the Melbourne Guitar Show, but I've got to say, now that I'm used to rehearsing and using the Plexi, I just think, I don't know. I think if I was touring it as a big show, I'd want to get Eddie's tone as authentically as possible for people, you know, like, and use a real just dimed Marshall. I just think, and even for me, at some point, it's got to be not about convenience, you know, it's got to be I think I heard Dan and Mick on the pedal show where we're talking about how, what, you know, one of the things that's a labor of love that they actually don't whinge about is having to carry heavy amps into a gig. That's for them, that's part of the romance of the whole thing, you know. And I just think that I mean, probably what I would do is, because a valve head can fail, if especially with travel, as everyone knows, what I would do is I'd take the Kemper as a backup. So I would travel with both. So I would use the plexi to generate the Ed sound, and have a rig where if something happened to the plexi, I could just swap it out with the Kemper and use the same rig. So I think that's also what I'll be doing for the Corner Hotel actually too, Andrew, is having the Kemper there as a backup just in case anything happens with the power, you know, whatever.
Smart move.
And actually, you know, the discussion over like old school versus new school, which rages on, you know, the virtual modeling amps versus the real amps, to me, that's the Kemper's perfect place in what it's designed for. I mean, because it's like a tiny little box that can be a backup for all the sounds, all the delays, all the choruses, all the pitch shifting. It's everything in one little box. And so, yeah, maybe it doesn't sound like exactly the same and doesn't have that organic feedback that guitarists love. But, you know, I mean, if your amp blew up, then the show would go on. And really, to be honest, I think most people would hardly tell the difference. That's, you know, purists will be able to tell. Yep. But, you know, I mean, I still get people on the Melbourne Guitar Show video on YouTube asking me, is that the Marshall or the Kemper? So people can't tell, you know.
I think it's a smart move incorporating both anyway, just in case. And even if you can incorporate both together, I don't know, that's just an idea.
Yeah. No. Well, look, you could, if I wanted to be really kind of economical about the process of the wet, dry, wet rig, which I don't, by the way, I'm sort of going all out, and I've pulled out my Eventide harmonizer out of the studio rack and put it in a guitar rack. So I'm doing it fully old school. But what I could do probably is use the Marshall as the tone generator, and use the Kemper for all the effects. And that way it's kind of like using each for what they do really well, you know.
Yeah.
But,
that's a great idea. That way you can, I mean, worst case scenario, you blow a valve, you can just use the Kemper and get through the gig with still a great tone.
Yeah, it'll be close enough. Like, you know, the only time I've really used the Kemper to do anything like very rock is that Melbourne Guitar Show thing. So, but I didn't have a bad time on stage listening to that. That was fine, you know. Would I have preferred a dimed plexi on the stage with vintage Celestians? Of course. But, you know, it's the Kemper comes alive when it's a situation like that where there's 4 or 5 bands in one day and there's no sound check. You can just throw it up and, you know, it'll sound exactly how you want it to sound, you know. So,
I think
both.
That's the wonderful thing about technology. You know, you can utilize, you know, your Marshalls and everything dimed, but to have like something like Kemper, you know, there's other axe effects and all sorts of things that you can utilize these days to pull tones, to turn it on, and there's your tone. That's amazing.
Yeah, look, it's very, very clever at what it does. And yes, if you want to just put one thing on the seat of your car and go off to a gig and basically be able to get the sound with all the effects, it's unreal. It's unreal. But yeah, so bit of both for me. Thank you, Caleb, Nerd Halen. He's saying have a great show. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, obviously we've got 3 more months to prepare now, which is good. But and Andrew, I don't know if you got that link that I emailed you, but if you did, and people wanted to hear an exclusive actually, it would be of some snippets of the 5150 songs and stuff that I'm going to release as promos in the next 3 months. Feel free to play that if you want to play some of that, Andrew.
Okay, let me work that behind the lines.
You can jump off if you want, and me and Brad will hold fort, and you can check it out.
Yeah. I'll see if I can download that here. So
I'm dying to hear it, so you have to work it out, Andrew.
Yeah. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about, guys, and I've got some pictures that we can throw up, but we might as well start the discussion now. The 5150 iconic amps, Hoss and Brad. I have an opinion on that, but I'll be keen to hear what you guys have to say, because there's a lot of discussion, obviously, amongst the Van Halen community and the metal community in regards to these amps. So can we have a discussion, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Well, Brad, have you played one or heard one in the flesh? I haven't as yet.
No, I haven't had the luxury of going around to music stores at the moment. But
that's right.
Yeah. So I haven't heard one in the flesh. I've watched countless demos online. I believe, and forgive me if I'm incorrect with this, that it was an entry level, or sort of between entry level and mediocre level amp range by EVH gear, so that they have like an entry point for an affordable guitar tone that gets you in the ballpark of the old Peavey 5150. Now, I know the Peavey 5150 because I had one, was 120 watts, and I believe this is 80 watts.
80 watts, that's right.
Yeah, and I believe so. The demos I watched actually scrubbed up okay. There was one demo I watched where they had like one of the new 5150 iconics. They had the Peavey 5150 and one of the EVH 5153s, and they were switching between the heads. And it's always hard watching it on a YouTube clip, I think, to really hear the difference, especially when you're using, what's the aux box and things like that, when you're using the speaker emulation things. It's really hard to really get within. For me, I couldn't really tell. I mean, in a room, you're really feeling the resonance. You're feeling everything inside the room. You're feeling the speakers. On a YouTube clip, for example, it sounded good to me. I would maybe recommend it if it's in that under $1,000 range. But here in Australia, I think it's more than $900. I think in the US it's $900. So, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it's about 900 US, which makes it, I think it's selling retail in Australia for around 1,400 to 1,500 Australian dollars.
Yeah. So from a point of view, if it was $1,400-1,500 here in Australia, I still think my option, and this is just a personal option, I would probably still be leaning towards getting a Marshall and getting it tweaked.
Yep.
I think Ross and I had this discussion yesterday on the phone, and it was just basically a platform. If you're going to get yourself into the ballpark for under $1,000, that's amazing. That's a really good entry level thing. But here in Australia, it costs a lot more to get stuff from the US. So I'm assuming that probably would work out better for me to go buy maybe an 800 or a Plexi and get, say, someone like Woz to modify it, just to tweak it how you want it. Yeah. But that's not discounting the amp. I still think it sounded great. There was nothing that really stood out to me as being horrible. I had a 5150, and I know that amp for my ears, was a little bit too sizzly in the room compared to a Marshall, because I like that growl of a Marshall. It's a very American tone, the 5150 Peavey.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they've tried to emulate with that. Is that correct, guys? Because I haven't heard one in the flesh, so
yeah.
Look, I haven't heard one in the flesh either. So, and I'm like you guys, I'm keen to try one. But what I think's really interesting, Hoss and Brad, about the whole thing is that if it truly is going to be an affordable amp here in New Zealand, I'll buy one. But I get the point that you're saying about if it's not going to be affordable here with transport, clearly in North America and Canada, the amp is affordable, and that's a big factor in the success. And clearly, one of the great things that Eddie and the management team decided to do when they wanted to get this amp out there, they were looking after the fans' house. You know, Eddie signed that amp off. He wanted to have a good mid-range amp that was going to nail a lot of the EVH tones at affordable pricing for guys. Yeah, you know, commendable. And the guy that built the amp was the guy that was involved in the original Peavey amp. So there's some, what's the word there? There's some credibility and some credentials there. The fact that it's made in China really, at the end of the day, means nothing to me personally. But I think now you've nailed the hammer. That you've put the hammer and the nail on the head, Brad. Yeah. If it's affordable for us here in this part of the world, well, then it's going to be a no-brainer. But if it's going to be up there with all these other amps, which I suspect it might be because of the people gouging, I think we're going to probably lose out there, Hoss.
Yeah. My take on it is like the Stripe series guitars. I mean, I would love to get my hands on a Frankie or a Bumblebee of the EVH gear range. But here in Australia, they're ridiculously priced for what they are. I don't know what you guys think, but for a guitar that you can buy for $1,400 in the US, it's well over $3,000 here in Australia.
What one's that, Brad? What's that?
The Frankie.
Frankie, yeah.
So that's not really affordable for someone like myself. So, like, I mean, I can go buy a fairly vintage Strat for that price, if that makes sense. And not trying to compare, but value for money, it seems a little bit off when it's not a US built guitar and it's costing the same as what a US built guitar is, just because you know, it's passed and everything's sort of gone up in price. And honestly, I think that's something that Ed would probably not be too impressed with, because I think the reason his gift to us was to give us an affordable option. And then when you incorporate transport and everything and all the shipping and all the cost to get it over here in Australia, for example, it just ends up being the cost of a US guitar here. Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. Between the dollar exchange and the import taxes into Australia, I don't know if it's the same for you, Andrew, in New Zealand, but the prices, it isn't just simply the difference of the currency exchange. It's way more. So as Brad's saying, like, even, I mean, you know, last year I was even looking at some of the EVH Frankies and this and that as guitars to use for my show, or backup guitars at least, you know. But they're just this crazy expensive here. And plus, you know, you got to wait a year anyway, but that's a whole thing.
You're absolutely right, bro. Yeah, you know, my 5150 was $3,000 3.5 years ago. The Frankies here are $3,500.
Yeah, they're about that here in Australia.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and if I'm correct, Andrew, the New Zealand Australian exchange rate, it's not that far apart, is it? It's a little bit apart, but not much. Which means that, okay, so for all of us down here in Australasia, we're looking at $3.5 grand for one of those guitars. But what's the US on those? It's like, is it
$1,700?
$1,700, isn't it? Yeah, that's right. So yeah, and obviously that difference of more than double isn't just the exchange rate, you know, it's a whole lot of other things as well. So yeah, it unfortunately, and you know, it's the same almost with the Iconic amp. Getting back to that, I mean, the list price here in Australia is, I think, $1,600 retail. Well, that still makes it kind of mid-price, but it doesn't make it cheap, you know. So I think that it's obviously good value in the States for sure, you know.
And I mean, I want to ask you guys, did you watch any of the demos online on YouTube and stuff? Did you watch any?
Yeah.
And what was your opinions?
Actually, sorry, just quickly, Caleb is just saying that it's $1,899 is what they're going for in the States.
What's that, the Frankie?
Yeah, the Frankie, those kind of things, the EVH guitars, which means that, essentially by the time we get them down here, they're exactly double the price. Yeah. But the exchange rate's only 30% more. So that's the difference. And it's crazy. I did have a listen to some of the stuff on YouTube. Now, one of the paradoxically, I actually found that on the EVHgear YouTube page, that particular demo, I didn't like the sound of it at all. I thought it sounded horrible. But then Beard's Riffs and Guitars, I saw that he did one on his, and he actually got a really good sound out of it, you know. But he was only playing like sort of prog drop D stuff, you know. And I think that the distortion channel on distortion sounds on that amp, they're voiced for that, as far as I can tell. They're super high gain, just like the other 5150 amps. And so I think it's a very specific thing. Personally, this might be a lot of people might disagree with me on this. I've actually just never really found any of the 5150 heads to give me a sound that reminds me of Van Halen. And obviously I know that Eddie was using them, but I don't know. I don't know what to say. Anytime I've played through one, it seems like a metal amp, you know. And you've even got other amp builders like Dave Friedman and people who almost laugh at the amount of gain in the lead channel. It's basically unusable. So it's strange to me because Eddie's sound was never that gainy.
Sorry, brother.
Going on.
Sorry.
No, you're right. Look, but what I saw, Brad, on YouTube of the Iconic amp, I think for the money it sounds good. And if they've had to drop a couple of preamp tubes, I believe, so that it's obviously a cost saving thing. But you know, with these days, with all the virtual modeling and then, you know, amp plug-in software inside, you know, Cubase and Logic and Pro Tools, I don't really see anything wrong with getting rid of a tube to replace it with some sort of circuitry that will emulate a tube if it sounds good. To me, it just should be what sounds good, right? So,
yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube. I spent half the day yesterday, Hoss and Brad, going through, and Jeremy White, who's known in the Van Halen community, is pretty knowledgeable. He's done a couple of cool videos on it, and he's playing a lot of stuff, Brad, off Carnal Knowledge and the 5150 out, you know, so he's getting some really good Van Halen tones.
Okay, great. That's good.
Yeah. There's some good, some good stuff out there. Another young cat's done another good video. Look, I'm going to put my hand up and say, look, I've always loved that Peavey 5150 amp, just the look of it, the iconic look of those amps, and having one here to sit on top of my my blues breaker, just the head going through my monitors. If it's going to be affordable, Hoss, I'm going to get one, bro. I'll get one.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, when you opened about talking about the amps, you were talking about the some controversy online. In your opinion, what has that been? What do you think?
Well, the controversy. And again, we got to be careful how I say this. You know, we all come into music at different levels, and especially when it comes to the wallet economically. You know, there's entry-level guitars, mid-level, and high-end stuff. You know, everything has a role and a positioning in the market, which is great. And one of the great things over the last 15, 20 years, and we've discussed this on a lot of shows, Hoss, haven't we? You know, that with the Chinese manufacturing a lot of equipment, it's affordable now. You can get good gear at affordable prices now, not like it was back in the day. You know, in the 80s, everything was expensive. You know, you know, you had to save, but now you can get, you know, you can buy a classic Vibe Stratocaster here in New Zealand for $900. Plays just as good, if not better, than some American-made Strats. So, you know, which are $3.5 grand, $2.5, $3.5, $4 as an example.
Yep.
So the point that I want to make, it being, you know, a budget conscious when it comes to spending money, we don't buy rubbish. We know that because we've been through that process. But if something's mid-range and mid-priced and made in China, that's not a good enough reason for me not to buy it. And that's the controversy, because some of these internet personalities, you know, that have huge followers, will just look at the fact that, you know, it's made in China and write it off completely.
Yeah, I don't subscribe to that at all. I think in the era that we live in now, and really for the last 20 years, I don't think if something's made well, it doesn't really matter where it's made anymore. I don't think. I just think that especially with the advances in technology and how clever it all is, like we were just saying, like virtual modeling and software plugins that emulate amp sounds. I've been recording with Line 6's amp farm in my Pro Tools for 20 years, and believe it or not, I've never even upgraded it. And sometimes I still use it. I mean, obviously I mic up my amps here in the studio whenever I have the time or I have the budget, because it's more fun for me. I really like mucking around getting guitar sounds. Excuse me. But you know, if I have to, I'll use Amp Farm, and I've figured out a couple of little tweaks and tricks that make it come to life, and it sounds great. So I just think that if it means that the amp becomes accessible and affordable to young players,
yes,
and it means that you swap out of a tube with some kind of transistor or something, great, no problem. So I don't have a problem with that either. You know,
smart. It's smart marketing, Hoss. It's smart.
Yeah. I agree. But to Brad's point a little earlier, I agree with him too, that I think that if you've got a little bit more money and you really, really want to get the most authentic rock sound that you can, I mean, the original platform is just an old Marshall. And if you know someone in your city that can, you can take it to and maybe get a couple of little tweaks, maybe your own personal little things. You can make even a pretty average Marshall come to life cheap, you know? And so, and I don't know, I find that as part of the fun, actually, you know? So there is something to be said for being able to buy something affordable straight off the shelf. Actually, a great example, Andrew, is people have asked me a lot, what guitar was I using when I did the Melbourne Guitar Show? And that was just a Fender Player Series straight off the shelf that I put some black tape on. It had the Fender pickups, so I didn't swap any of those out. In fact, there was nothing that I did to it at all. It was literally off the shelf for 1,000 Australian dollars, so about 700 US. So cheap.
And do you know how many people you blew away when you told us that and on
really?
other shows?
Really?
Do you know how? Yeah.
It's something that I always thought. For me, there's a bit of fun in getting an amp customized as well. I don't know about you, Hoss, but getting someone to actually, you know, tweak your amp while you're playing it. There's something quite unique about that.
Oh man, that is an experience that, yes, I agree, Brad. If for any guitarist that hasn't had the experience of taking your amp to someone where they take the guts out of the head shell and they put it upside down on a bench, and while you are playing it, they're taking in and out different value capacitors and stuff. That is a trip. That is so fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the Marshall that's behind me there, that one that's exactly what he did. He had it out in the vise on its side, changing capacitors over and everything while I was playing. And he's tapping without, he's trying all these different things. And there was just something quite, you know, it's like that's your amp, that's your sound, that's your amp. It's tailored to how you play. It's I was just reading a few comments here too, guys, and Nerd Halen, Caleb, I have to agree, it's all in Hoss's hands. It's not the gear he's using. And that, you know, that's how it is.
But ultimately, that's the same for anybody, isn't it? People sound like who they are no matter what guitar they're playing and no matter what amp they're playing. It's one of those weird subconscious things, you know. It's like the sound you hear in your head is the sound that comes out of your fingers, you know. I mean, there's so many stories about people who've plugged into somebody else's amp and sounded like them instead of the person whose amp it was, you know.
Yeah,
and also, guys, don't forget too, you know, the guys that my vintage who have gotten a bit older might have a bit more cash are going to buy this kind of stuff now too, because they couldn't 20, 30 years ago, you know. And that's one of the great things that EVH did with these guitars here, with these stripe guitars, you know. We couldn't get anything like this 20, 30 years ago unless you built it yourself, Hoss. You know what I mean? So, and I'm certainly not going to be able to build a guitar. So there's going to be a lot of old guys with grey beards and grey hair running around buying these iconic amps because they look cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
I have to say, I do like it in the white or the cream or whatever color the light one is in. That looks nice to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, do we want to play that video, because I've managed to get it up and running?
Yes.
And one of the comments in the chat I saw was, "There's nothing in that black screen." So
Please play it, please.
okay, hold on. All right, bear
You're
with
welcome.
me, guys.
It only goes for what it is essentially 30-second snippets of a bunch of different songs. So I think you don't even have to play the whole thing, but if you let it run, it'll go for about 3 minutes or something, I guess.
Just play it. And
We're going to play that. We're going to play it.
All
Hold
right.
on, guys. The 5150 world exclusive.
World exclusive, yeah.
World exclusive. Sit back and enjoy.
Hello, baby. Wow!
There you go.
Far out.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's absolutely sensational, man. That's so good.
Thanks. That was fun. So that was all shot and recorded at our production rehearsals that we did about a month ago or so.
Wow.
With Glenn Falloon, who's doing lights for the Corner Hotel. So that's his light setup and his sound stage.
Yep.
So we got together and we thought, well, we should shoot some promos and we'll do it with the light show he's putting together. So that's essentially how the gig will look.
Far out, boss. That's sensational, man. Watching that's got me so excited. Can't wait.
Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was heat that day was so much fun. We were like, I mean, you can tell I tried to include as many shots of Jerry laughing or Jason looking surprised. I mean, we were just like kids in a candy store playing that stuff all day long, So yeah, it was heaps of fun.
Well done, bro. It was fantastic. There was so much there to get us going. The drumming sound that we were talking about earlier, the bass, some of the bass tone coming through. You're playing. Wasn't it nice hearing Nina? The transition into Nina's voice. Just brought another dimension. It was just, my gosh.
Yeah,
Brad, I'm envious that you're going to be there.
Yeah, Nina is so
it's
wonderful.
It's going to kick my ass too. I know it's going to make me want to hang the guitar up or play every hour of every day to try and get to that level. Far out. Unreal. Can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really blessed with some of the special guests like Nina as well, and Darren, of course, who you heard doing a lot of the Sammy stuff there. Then we've got another great Melbourne singer called Jimmy Couples, who's going to get up in the encore and sing 5150, who I used to be in a Van Halen. The original version of Fair Warning was in 1998, and that was with Jimmy Couples. So just to bring him in to do 5150 will be special. And it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, you could hear in some of those stuff that Jerry using his Simmons triggers,
Yes. Yeah. And it brought a big smile to my face because that just encapsulates so much of what Alex was doing during that time frame. It's just, you got to get it. There's some cool comments from people in the chat, Hoss. Arvin saying, nice one. Susan saying, it's awesome. You've got Charmaine jumping on board saying, fantastic. Keith saying that he wishes he was in Melbourne. Grant Fisher saying, take my money. Look, before we go, guys, at the end of the show, we'll play that video. That'll be the end video for the show. So hang around, guys. We've got 34 people watching us. On the bottom there, somewhere on the bottom there, scrolling, you'll see some Instagram accounts. That's really, really important for us. And keeping you guys in touch with what Hoss and Brad and the channel's doing. So if you can subscribe to their Instagram accounts, that'll be great. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, if you're new to the channel, and if you are watching a replay, we're about 824, 825. We'd love to get 1,000 subscribers. We can only do that with your help, guys. That would be just a great thing for our small channel if we can get 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible. But we need you to help us do that. So thank you.
Hey, Andrew, I've got an idea that might help. Whoever the 1,000th subscriber is, if that happens before April 15, they've got four tickets to the show.
Really?
Wow.
I'll give them 4 tickets to the show if they're in if they can get to Melbourne. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Can I unsubscribe and resubscribe? Wait.
So all you Australians here in the
yes, all the Aussies.
In the chat, and if there's any rich North Americans that going to fly over, of course, we can't discount. Start again. Can't discount that. Anyone think I've been drinking, mate? All I've been doing is just drinking ginger beer, Bundabergs.
I thought you were going to say all I've been doing is drinking gin.
No. My drinking days are long gone, brother. Yeah, ginger beer. Look, that would be nice if you guys are in Australia and you've got some friends that might be interested in what we're doing here on our channel and want to come along to the gig. Get them to subscribe to our channel. Beat them up, tie them down, hog tie them. steal their passwords and log on and subscribe to our channel.
100%. Wow. I'm still blown away, Hoss. That was unreal.
Thank you, brother. And I will say this, actually. Look, this might be only a small thing, but it's at least something that I can do. I already know a couple of people that are flying from interstate to come and see the show. And there's a good friend of mine who lives over in LA that's, if travel's allowed and all of that, he's going to see if he can use his frequent flyer points to fly down to Australia to catch it. But for anyone that's not in Melbourne, if anyone wants to fly in to see the show, let me know on my social media, and you've got free tickets.
Okay, so
I know it's a little thing, I know, but it's the least I can do. So,
wow.
So there's Hoss there.
Yep, you can find me on Facebook, real easy. Simon Hosford, same. Just look for the bald head. You find me on Insta, real easy. So send me a message if you're thinking of flying down or can, and I'll arrange tickets and stuff. No problem.
Andrew, that's an enticement for you, brother.
Oh, we got to go over here, bro.
You can stay at my house, mate, or Hoss's,
The only problem is I have to stay in isolation when we travel to Australia. Got to stay in isolation for 2 weeks. So
is that still a thing? That's still the
yeah.
Well, if that's not the case by April, brother, and you can get over here, you've got 2 houses you're welcome to stay at, and be awesome to hang out.
Appreciate it. But yeah, you guys have heard that here. If you guys want to help us get that word out, if we have 1,000 subscribers by the gig, Hoss is going to give 4 tickets away to anyone that can make the gig. Guys, I've got an unboxing that I like to do, if that's okay, on air. It's from Brad, and I have to say, your penmanship, brother, your penmanship is outstanding. I couldn't believe the quality of your writing. It's unbelievable. So clearly, you were taught well.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much.
Very nice. Okay, here we go.
Just don't show the addresses.
No, I won't do that, brother. Hold on. Here we go. Get in there. I'm useless at unwrapping things live. Hold on. Get in there. Oh, my Lord. Okay. Season's greetings to Andrew and the 51 channel. You are such an awesome dude. Thank you for coming into my life, Andrew. You are the center of my life when it comes to YouTubing. You are brilliant, fantastic. Thank you. No.
Is that the one for me?
No, it doesn't say that, guys.
I told you not to read out my one in public. Jeez.
Oh my gosh, look at this, guys. Look at that.
Oh yay.
I'm glad it got there. Finally got there. Hoss got his when I sent yours.
Brother, I really appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Thank you. That means a lot to me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for sharing that. That's amazing.
No problem. I'll wear it on the. I won't tell anybody what else you wrote in that wonderful letter.
Sharing's caring, mate. That's what they say, isn't it?
That's
my Lord.
Lovely.
What else are we going to talk about?
Now, was there something I saw in the social medias with that concerned Valerie? I couldn't really find anything in particular, but was there something strange with what she's been saying lately?
Look, like a lot of us, Hoss, we waste probably too much time on social media. And to try and focus that, we try and keep it within the subjects that we're interested in. And obviously, Valerie is really, really important to us because we were talking about this in the green room house. You know, in the 80s, Eddie Van Halen and Valerie Bertinelli were the A couple. They, you know, they were it for all of us. You know, we knew who Valerie was when she was in that sitcom, and then when she, you know, fell in love and married Eddie, we all knew who Eddie was. So, you know, they were the power couple. Do they still use that term to describe?
Sure. Yeah.
So big part of our lives, you know, growing up. One thing I want to talk to you guys, and because we're a Van Halen show, is some of the comments that she's saying, you know, that had Eddie lived, they would have got back together.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I read some things that she said where it was definitely very heartfelt, and you know, she was saying that it's the love that they had was very deep and eternal, you know, that kind of thing. And I think, I read something where she said, you know, had he not died, who knows? That kind of, so whatever that's meant to mean, but yeah, that was all that I saw that she was talking about. Unless anyone knows anything else.
No, but I'll buy her book though. I'll get it on Kindle because I have read her first book.
Losing It.
Yeah, and she talks a little bit about about
she does,
Eddie. But anyone in the chat might be able to correct me, but I'm not sure whether the book has already been dropped or will be dropped, but apparently she's dropping a second book. So it'll be interesting to see what she has to say about Eddie in that book. But look, at the end of the day, you know, she's always going to be a big part of Van Halen fans. You know, she's the mother of Wolfgang as well too. So, you know, there's, you know, clearly there's a connection, but I kind of thought it was, you know, interesting. Only because other guys on some other YouTube, you know, shows that I was watching were, you know, talking about it, saying, you know, isn't that like, you know, Eddie was apparently happily married to Janie, and you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, this thing of them getting back together, or who knows, kind of strange.
Yeah. I mean, look, I guess it's one of those things, isn't it, that if they had such a strong connection and it ended because of, you know, partly at least because maybe Eddie was in a really bad place at the time and abusing a lot of things, then it almost ends, if you look at it sort of spiritually, it ends in a way that's not real, because it's the substances that are contributing to the ending of it. So maybe you know, I think as you get older too, you realize that that's not the person, you know, it's not the real person in their heart. And obviously she, you know, they both always carried a flame for each other. So yeah. And Susan was saying there in the chat too, that Valerie has divorced her second husband. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I didn't know that either. So there you go. But yeah. But, you know, I think from all accounts, though, she was by his side, you know, when he was, you know, in his last days and stuff. And I think, you know, they all got to tell each other that they loved each other. I think that's the most important thing. You know, I think being able to let people know that you love them before they go is really important.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the statement that they'd end up back together, because from my understanding, Ed was happily with Janie, so I can't imagine that Valerie coming back into the fold would influence that. But, you know, we don't know. So,
yeah.
It's all hypothetical now anyway, so.
No,
look, we wish, obviously, Valerie well, don't we? You know,
of course.
You know, she put up with, you know, a lot there towards the end there with Eddie, you know, when he became really, difficult to live with. It's never easy, even when it's a guy like Eddie Van Halen, who we, love and adore. When you've got issues, Hoss, like he had to deal with it. It's if anyone is close or has any kind of contact with anyone that's got the disease of alcoholism, it's never easy. It's not an easy thing to deal with. It's
No, it isn't.
Difficult.
No, it isn't. That's for sure. Well said. And so when I say that too, of course, I'm sure people would know that I actually not judging Ed at all, because I think that, we're all human and we're all fallible, and we're all just trying to figure out this life the best way that we all know how individually, and I think that there's enough instances over the decades of Eddie's beautiful heart that I think people really kind of know that's where it's at. And, and I've known plenty of people that have battled with substances, whether it's alcohol or anything else, and have been in rehab and stuff. And, and I've spent some of my younger years hitting alcohol way too hard, so I've been there too. And, it's, for those things, I don't think you judge people, and I don't really feel like Eddie's judged for it. And so I don't mean that when I'm saying that was going on when they split, but, it's obviously, I was with someone years ago that had a lot of problems, and it wasn't that I didn't love them, that it didn't work out. It just, it was, the situation just wasn't manageable anymore. So it just became about that. And I could see that maybe from Valerie's point of view, it's not manageable anymore. But, I think that it all parted sweetly. I'll be interested to read the new book as well, Andrew. I think that'll be really interesting. I liked, she writes quite well, that her book, Losing It, which has some stuff about Ed in it as well, is a good book for anyone that wants to dive a little bit deeper into the personal side of Eddie Van Halen. But I think the new book will be interesting as well.
Look, and I have to agree with you, because as fans, it's really important to read these books. Patty Boyd, for example, Wonderful Tonight, her biography, where she talks about George and Eric Clapton, is pretty revealing, pretty good. Cynthia Lennon, and her biography came out and said some really interesting, weird and bizarre things about John Lennon too. So because we're fans, Brad, we're hungry to find out, what was Eddie like? What was the guy like? And so we're going to devour it, and we're going to read it, and we're going to do a show on it, and that's great. Who else out of all my friends is interested in what Valerie Bertinelli's got to say, except for Hoss, Brad, and all the rat bags in the chat? Actually,
Keith just said Steve Rosen's book, when it comes out, will be great too. I totally agree. I'm really looking forward to that one. That's going to be absolutely fascinating. And Michael Richardson's there was talking about how, Wolfie had, while Ed was sick, had he recovered, it looked like he was trying to talk him into doing, a throw the kitchen sink in kind of tour, where they had like all three singers and both Wolfie and Michael on bass. And man, would that not have been unbelievable? That would have been a dream come true for all of us. I think, I know for me, that really, it's a shame that didn't get to happen before Ed passed, because that would have been really wonderful to see, like the whole gang kind of together, all getting along, so to speak. I just think it would have been awesome. And, Sammy would have sung the Sammy songs, Roth would have sung the Roth songs, Gary would have sung the Gary songs. Can you imagine? It would have been awesome.
Would have been amazing. Something deep down inside of my heart makes me think that it probably would never have pulled off, though.
I think you're right. I think,
because,
I think you're right.
There's too many egos, and I personally think, it might be sort of off the cuff, maybe, I don't know, but I don't ever think I ever heard David Lee Roth ever talk about it or ever acknowledge that it would happen, because I don't think his ego would let it happen somehow.
Yeah, look, you're probably right. I mean, I think the fact that they were talking about it is probably exciting enough. The reality of it happening, I mean, look, even if it had have got to the stage where they were doing like production rehearsals, and you could just see it all going south. You know, you could see Roth and Sammy throwing coffee cups at each other, and you know, who knows? You could see it going south maybe, but I think that Wolfie was even trying to get his dad to contemplate it is gorgeous, and it would have even that was exciting for me just to read about it. You know.
Yeah. Oh, look, when I heard Wolf talk about it, you know, I got shivers. I was like, that would have been sensational because I love all eras of Van Halen, so it would have been like, you know, like a best of tour, so to speak.
Yeah, best of tour. Yeah. And most Van Halen fans love both eras. There's very few people only really like one and not the other at all, you know. Some might have a preference, but it's still everyone loves all Van Halen. So to have a concert tour where it was like all the different members of Van Halen over the years, this would have been so cool.
Yeah, I would have loved to have heard, you know, Gary up there with them again as well, because that I saw that tour and I met Eddie on that tour, so it was that would have been really heartwarming to see as well.
Yeah. There's a question in the chat for you guys from Grant Fisher. But before I ask Grant's question to my ask it to my co-host, so I have to agree with you guys on Steve Rosen's book. Apparently, it's about 500, maybe even 600 pages, guys. So it's going to be she's a big book, and it could be the defining one. It could knock Brad and Chris's book off if because that's twice the size of, and probably 3 times the size of some of these other books.
It's going to be very interesting for sure. Look, we all wait with anticipation for that one. And I'm sure if anyone hasn't heard on Steve Rosen's YouTube, he's got an audio interview that he did many, many years ago with Eddie. You've heard that, haven't you, Andrew? Yeah. So just before the Van Halen 2 record came out. So it would have been, 79, maybe? I guess that interview.
It's outstanding.
And it's just the two of them sitting around, Ed with his guitar not plugged in, like showing him all the bits that were about to be released on Van Halen 2. What a great... So if anyone hasn't heard that, put the kettle on and have a listen to that.
Just the way... isn't it interesting how Ed... I don't know. He must have judged these guys pretty quickly, didn't he? And for him to reveal himself, because and the way that he's talking, it's like there's a few other interviews where he's apologizing. He's apologizing because someone else is trying to talk to the person that's interviewing him, and he's saying, sorry for am I holding you up? And the guy's going, Are you joking? You're Eddie Van Halen.
Great, isn't it?
And you're asking me, sorry for swearing. But the question, the question, thoughts on Roth's cancelled shows, guys?
Look, to be honest, I don't know enough about it, the backstory and the details to probably comment. So, I'm probably going to have to bow out of that discussion. I don't really know anything about it.
I've got to be careful. I've got to be careful what I say.
Yes.
I think it's probably a good thing that he's cancelled them.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the truth is behind it, but I heard it had something to do with COVID-related issues, whether it was, also not sure if it's correct as well, but I heard that they were having trouble with bookings or something like that. So there could be something to do with management, why they pulled it. It could be something to do with COVID-related limitations to the venue, or not sure exactly why. But it's disappointing, but not a surprise to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Keith was saying he had tickets. How's that? But yeah. Sorry about that, Keith.
Yeah, I have heard a lot of people upset about it, in the sense where people have made travel arrangements and everything to get there, and all sorts of things. So I feel sorry for the people that have that's actually happened to them.
And then obviously he getting other rumors from other sources saying that Dave's Dave's ability to sing. He's having problems singing. So if that's the reason, he'll never come out and say that's the reason, will he? But if that is the reason that he can't do it because of whatever with the vocals, well, that's always going to cancel a gig, isn't it, Hoss?
Yeah, it really will. Who knows? Really, at the end of the day, it's probably a bit hard to know unless you're in those circles. But yeah, it's canceling shows is never a good vibe. Sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes it's just maybe people are not up to it as they thought they would be.
Yeah, well, the other thing I heard it was health issues. So hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, I hope he's okay too. I hope his health is all right. But yeah, interesting. And Michael, yeah, I did hear that about Alex scheduled to play some shows. Although, is that still pretty much just a rumor, or is there any fact to that? Does anyone know? No,
I don't know. I can't confirm that, brother.
Okay, yeah,
I
had heard.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I had heard it, but I think it got sort of debunked as a rumor. But I think it was because the way that Alex did some kind of a promo thing where he spoke about it, and I think he dropped that he and Alex had been talking, but he didn't specifically say Alex was going to be playing, but it kind of intimated that maybe he would be, rumored.
Rumored. I do think that Wolfie dismissed the rumor by saying it's not happening. That's one of the things I heard. So,
well, I think Wolfie would know for sure. So I think if that's that's the bottom line.
So will Alex join Wolfie at some stage then, Hoss and Brad? Keith, you're in the States. You've got an ear to the ground there, brother. Are you hearing anyone else in the chat? Is that a possibility? Be great to see Alex Van Halen doing something, though, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah, it really would. From everything I know about him, though, he's just sort of behind the scenes in terms of the social spotlight and the media. I don't know. Maybe with his brother gone, his heart's not in it. Who knows? Maybe we'll see. But he's definitely very quiet about everything, isn't he? Generally,
he pretty much has been, but especially since Ed passed, I think he was in hiding for 12 months almost, really. So
sure. Well, that's understandable, But yeah, it would be really wonderful to see Alex out playing again. If for no other reason than just obviously he has the joy of music inside him. It would be a shame if he didn't play, So whether it's with Wolf or who knows.
I did remember seeing was it Steve Lukather put his hand out to encourage Alex to get out and play some gigs with Steve Lukather. I'm not sure if that's correct, but I remember seeing that. Yeah. So obviously, if something was going to come, it would have already come to that now. So, But with COVID restrictions and everything like that, maybe he's just lying low for now. Who knows? We'll never know unless it. That's the funny thing, and the wonderful thing about Van Halen is it's always unknown until it happens.
Yeah. Well, no, look, you're right there, and I just want to say a couple of things while it quickly comes to my mind. Guys, we need to get Keith on a show. I know that he joined us on our Christmas show, and he hung out with us for a little while, and Keith's been a Van Halen fan for a long, long time, so we'll guest him on a show coming up, Keith, and you've already agreed to jump in on with us, so we look forward to that. But Hoss and Brad and everyone else in the chat, how important we all know that Alex only played with one guitar player his whole life. So how important is that for Alex just to say, well, I've only ever played with one guitar player and that's it. Yeah. He's gone, so I'm not playing.
Yeah, I can see that. I think, when the two of them played together, there was an extra little bit of magic that happened that was more than when either of them just played on their own. I would say that something happens even in Ed's playing when he's playing with Alex that I just don't hear when Ed's playing with somebody else. There's plenty of instances you can find these days on YouTube of Ed like sitting in with bands, whether they're like Tonight Show bands or other things. You know, he's got up to jam, and I don't know. I just think that those two are like the Wonder Twins. You know, when they get together, there's something that kind of explodes, and they almost sort of give each other superhuman abilities musically. You know, but even Ed plays completely different without Alex, to my ears. You know.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Hassan. There was a chemistry thing between the two of them that was undeniable. It was, you know, and for that even that alone would be hard to carry on after the fact that Ed had passed for Alex. That would be that would be very difficult, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Keith Campbell saying Vin and Dimebag as well, brothers, you know, same thing. Yeah, there's an alchemy there that you can't discount, you know, that thing where two human beings with the same blood in the same family that grew up playing music together all those years, it must form something pretty special.
Yeah.
It's
that like Michael's just said there, it's an unspoken communication. Yeah. And you can hear even though they were playing, you know, timing, like a 4 count would be 1, 2, 3, 4, but there was a unique signature style to Alex and Ed's playing together in that timing of 1, 2, 3, 4. So in a 4/4 beat, they were playing 4/4, but they had a unique way of playing 4/4. For example, it's not how someone else would play it; it was just their way.
Yeah.
Together. Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why they did that so successfully, Brad and Hoss, and it's a little bit like Charlie Watts and Keith Richards. You know, Keith Richards was actually setting the beat. You know, he was that part. He was that crucial cog in the band where most bands will follow the drummer. And I think with Van Halen, that was the unique thing that Eddie could do that role that Keith was doing, and vice versa. Obviously, you've got that traditional part that the drummer plays in a rock band as well. So that timing thing that you're talking about, Brad, that space sometimes that you get where it could just all completely fall apart, but doesn't. That's yeah.
There's such, you know, I mean, even like stuff on, we're talking about 1984. There's some really tricky timing things going on Girl Gone Bad and all those sort of songs that to them would have just been how the way they played. But then when you listen to it, you've really got to, Hoss, I'm sure you'd probably pick that up more so than, say, Andrew and myself, having to learn a lot of that stuff with the timing of the songs, the way that they're playing together. It's quite unique. It's not straight out. It's not what do you call it? It's not mechanical. It's chemistry. Yeah.
If you want to hear something that is awesome, I think you can find it on YouTube. It's Alex playing Mean Street, but it's just isolated. So it's just his drums to Mean Street. And if anyone hasn't heard that, go and have a listen, because that is one of the funkiest drum parts you will ever hear. It's deceptively simple when you listen to it in the song, but when you listen to Alex just playing on his own, you could almost dance just to that with no music around it. You know, the pocket is so deep, it's so funky. And that's what Ed and Alex had. They had this sense of big band swing, but they had funk as well. And then they had this rock pocket, you know, very unique that rock musicians would have all those different styles under their belt, you know?
Yeah.
So can I ask you a question then, that because you've brought that up? So clearly they're reflecting back, Hoss, the styles of the music they're listening to, because, you know, we were starting to get funk back there in Southern California. You know, funk was we've always had, you know, quote unquote rhythm and blues. You know, there's always been that part of music. You know, we all know that they love. So they were just emulating and giving back what they were hearing in that whole period of that late 70s, especially.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. You know, and I think that the fact that they spent so many years playing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different cover songs before they even started writing together was perfect, you know, because they had all these different things under their belt, you know, and was kind of part of their blood, you know, all these different styles of music and from all the classic hits. And I think original bands probably don't do that as much these days. I think that was more prevalent back then in the 70s and the 80s, is bands would start off as cover bands and then end up writing and putting it out an album, you know. But you know, it's a little bit like the Toto story too, where they were all session musicians and did so many sessions together and realized that, you know, these producers are getting us to write half the song. They're so lazy, we may as well write our own songs, you know. And so that's how the Toto 1 album came about. So same thing, but yeah, there's no substitute for it. I don't think, you know.
Yeah,
I think one of the reasons why too that these bands were so successful when they were cover bands, Hoss, is, you know, they were playing in backyard gigs. You know, they were charging people $5 or $2.
Yeah.
They were putting beer on and selling beer as well. You know, Tom Petty was doing that with his band early on. You know, it was a place for young kids to go and, you know, have a good time when you could do that. And playing, you know, quote unquote radio music was really, really important, you know, for people to be able to dance to and latch on to something that they knew. But today you don't have that luxury anymore of being able to put a backyard party on and having 50 people turn up because of this thing that's going around. So a lot of young musicians now don't have that contact that you had, Brad, and Hoss and I did when we were growing up, of getting together and playing. So what they're doing now is they're creating their music at home, like we're doing here now, creating this YouTube stream. We're doing it here by ourselves in isolation. And look, sorry for being long-winded, but on Fruitcake Tony's show, you had your mate Hoss on there yesterday, Adam, talking about how he produced an album with a bass player in Brazil, and it was mixed by a guy in France. Classic example.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how a lot of people are doing it now. You know, I think some good things will come out of that. I think it's good to find new ways to create, because creating is still creating, you know. And I think that's the joy is in just simply creating. But there is also something very special about when you're in a room with people and there's and that synergy between human beings, like in person. So I think both are valuable. But yeah, I mean, most young guitarists that I know, whether they're students or just friends and stuff, most of them are not playing in bands. They are just putting up their stuff on Instagram, you know, from their home. And that's just the world we live in at the moment.
Yep.
We've
got Jerry in the chat. We're going to wrap up, guys. We've got Jerry in the chat. We've got a couple of things that we want to wrap up. We've had, apparently, according to Nelson, we had 38 thumbs up. So we always appreciate the thumbs ups. We're going to make it quite clear to you guys that anyone that subscribes to our channel here gets an automatic subscription back. So we do that. We're not subscriber holders. We share the subscription love. So that's the least you're going to get from us. Please follow us on our social media accounts on the bottom there, especially Brad and Hoss, if you want to keep up to date with what's happening with the gig that we're all anticipating and all chomping at the bit to actually happen. We will promise this pedal and a t-shirt is coming, but we wanted to do it in conjunction with the Corner Bar gig. So be patient with us. I think that's about it. I will be here tomorrow with the Rock Professor, Brad and myself, and we're going to be deep diving Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. Whew.
Awesome. That's going to be great. I'll definitely be watching that one, fellas. Great
awesome
album. Yeah.
Awesome.
And Jerry, I don't know if you were listening in on the show earlier, but we were discussing you. So if your ears were burning, we were talking about getting you on to talk about what's your process. Andrew was curious in terms of getting ready for the gig and your sounds and all of that stuff. So we'll get you on, brother.
Yeah.
Liam's got a comment here. Yeah, I saw you the VH set at the guitar show. Looking forward to the next gigs. Yeah, thanks, Liam.
Thank you, Liam.
Awesome.
That's awesome, brother. Yeah, the date's been moved to April 15 now, so we'll be there.
Awesome. Okay, Hoss. Before we play the video again for the exit in show video, do you want to go through? You got the chat up there. You want to go through and say hi, goodbye to everybody?
Sure.
Can you do that, brother?
Yeah, we got Jerry in there now. Susan, Keith Campbell, John ZD351. We got Liam in there, Hobo Roadie, Chris Hunter. Who else? Let me keep scrolling. Nelson Rodriguez, Alan, Helene. I've mentioned Liam. Michael Richardson, of course. Thanks for all your comments, brother. And I think we've had some in the chat earlier. Christopher Live Sour, of course. Thank you, brother. Hang on, my scroll. Nerd Halen was in there, of course. Caleb, yeah. So if you're still watching, thanks, Caleb. And I was going to say Valerie Bertinelli, but that's only because somebody's written her name. It looked like somebody's name. Susan Silvestri, of course, Grant Fisher, Chris Wheelton, who I think has had to leave, but Charmaine and Metal Mike 5150 jumped in. Arvin jumped in. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, and Crappy Luxury in there as well, and Fruitcake Tony and Charles Green. And yeah, so thanks, Peter Green. They are doing legend. I know Peter very, very well. We go way back. Peter was the singer and guitarist in the very first band I was ever in at 13.
Wow.
And we've been just messaging each other and trying to catch up because it's been many, many years. But Peter, awesome to see you in the chat, bro.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. And don't forget, Pete, to hit the subscribe button while you're here too, brother.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That goes for everyone. If anyone's watching this later on and you're not subscribed, please do so. We want to get up to 1,000 subscribers, but we're extremely grateful for everyone that's joined us in the chat today and already have subscribed, no doubt. So thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, 1,000 subscribers before the corner bar gig. Gee, I'm tongue-tied tonight. 4 tickets that Hoss is going to give away. 4 tickets.
To whoever ends up being the 1,000th subscriber gets 4 tickets to the show.
Wow.
100%.
All right. I'm just going to say goodbye. Thank you guys for joining us. Hoss, you're amazing. Brad, good to see you, brother. May the tone be with you. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, gents.
I'm going to get my co-host to say goodbye, and then we're going to play that video again.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, well, thank you, everyone, for joining us, as always. Be safe at the moment, and we'll look forward to catching up with you all on the next show.
Yeah. Great to see you guys in the chat and on screen, Andrew and Hoss. Good to see you guys again.
You too, bro.
Hello, babe.